My name is Evelyn, and I'm 36. I call the Napa Valley home, a place deeply rooted in my family's history, spanning 3 generations of winemaking, with vineyards stretching as far as the eye can see. My parents always envisioned me following in their footsteps, joining the family wine business. However, my path diverged. Instead of vines and fermentation, I found myself drawn to the world of finance. I launched a financial investment analysis firm in San Francisco, armed with nothing more than a well-worn laptop and a handful of modest clients. Over the next decade, I painstakingly cultivated a highly respected brand, attracting significant investment funds and rapidly growing businesses as clients. This success, however, came at a steep price. Countless sleepless nights, relentless deadlines, and the painstaking analysis of countless dry spreadsheets marked my journey. I built my career independently, without relying on my family's connections or resources. My younger sister, Beatrice, enjoyed a life of unparalleled luxury, thanks to our parents' unwavering support. They financed Beatrice's MBA at Harvard, gifted her a brand new Porsche, and provided a lavish condo in the heart of Beverly Hills. In stark contrast, my own academic pursuits and the establishment of my firm demanded every ounce of my energy and every penny I could scrape together, barely enough to cover my rent in a modest apartment in Oakland. I didn't complain, nor did I harbor resentment. I simply accepted that everyone forges their own unique path. Then, one Thursday in April, while I was engrossed in reviewing a quarterly report for a key client, my phone vibrated. It was my mother, her voice trembling with a mix of worry and desperation. "Evelyn," she choked out, "your father suffered a severe spike in blood pressure. The doctor's orders are strict bed rest and stress avoidance, and the bank has issued a foreclosure notice on the vineyard. Don't worry, sweetheart. We'll never forget what you've done." The following weekend, I returned to Winchester Estates. The vines, displaying delicate new leaves, stirred a wave of emotion. The gentle breeze rustling through the foliage felt as though it whispered the very soul of our family's history. My parents embraced me tightly. Beatrice wept, showering me with endless gratitude. They pledged me a significant management role, assuring me we'd rebuild the family legacy together. I believed them. I truly believed that family loyalty would prevail. I believed I was preserving not just a vineyard, but 3 generations of heritage. I immediately began strategizing, developing long-term plans, exploring new distribution channels, streamlining production, and even tapped into my network, securing a prominent spot for Winchester Estates at a major wine expo in San Diego. What I didn't know was that Beatrice was simultaneously posting self-congratulatory pictures on social media, portraying herself as the driving force behind the vineyard's success. I had no idea that the important role promised to me would be quickly and unceremoniously redefined in a way I could never have imagined. The harvest celebration took place in the expansive courtyard, behind the fermentation barn, a place filled with childhood memories for Beatrice and me. Winchester Estates shimmered under a canopy of warm, golden lights, with oak barrels repurposed as banquet tables. The air hummed with the intoxicating aroma of ripe grapes and the sweetness of fermenting wine. As I stood beside my mother, my father approached the microphone, the old turtleneck sweater he reserved for special occasions adding to his image. He looked at the crowd, eyes brimming with pride, tapped the mic, and began to speak in his deep, resonant voice. "Beatrice, our youngest daughter, who recently completed her distinguished MBA at Harvard." The courtyard erupted in applause. I remained frozen, a fine crystal glass hovering inches from my lips. Beatrice stepped from behind the podium, radiating confidence in an elegant ivory satin gown. She never glanced at me. She didn't need to. Her knowing smile was sufficient. I heard my mother's nervous chuckle beside me as she applauded. No one noticed me. No one acknowledged the $850,000 that had saved Winchester Estates from ruin. No words of thanks, no hint of recognition. "Don't worry, sweetheart. We'll never forget what you've done." Hollow words, a promise as fleeting as wine vapor on damp wood. Catherine Miller, a corporate litigation attorney who had successfully represented a friend in a complex fraud case involving family members. "I need to see you," I typed, adding urgent. "It's about an undocumented investment with significant repercussions." Within minutes, the reply came. "Tomorrow, 9 a.m., my office. Bring bank statements and any relevant documentation." I gazed back at the courtyard, watching Beatrice bask in the photographer's attention, my mother dabbing her eyes, my father cheerfully pouring wine for VIP guests. No one looked my way. I, the silent guardian who had prevented the collapse of Winchester Estates, was completely invisible. A profound sense of emptiness washed over me. I had lost everything: trust, pride, and my sense of belonging to the place I once called home. The $850,000 wire transfer receipt, bank confirmation emails, text messages exchanged with my parents, and a detailed breakdown of Winchester Estates spending following the transfer. Catherine swiftly scanned the documents, her expertise evident. No contract, no receipt, no loan agreement, she noted, her tone devoid of judgment, but laced with skepticism. Evelyn, you actually sent that much money without securing anything in writing? I trusted them, I confessed, my voice thick with anger and shame. I believed I was saving the family. Catherine leaned back, tapping her fingers thoughtfully on the table. Trust is a luxury when money is involved. However, there's a possibility. If we can find a third-party witness who can corroborate the agreement. A sudden memory surfaced. During my work on the Vineyard's financial recovery plan, the only other person present was Thomas, the Vineyard's longtime trusted accountant, known for his neutrality. He was there, I affirmed. He witnessed my father's promise that my investment would be protected, and that I would have a significant role in management. I recalled the awkward expression on Thomas's face. Excellent, Catherine nodded. I'll contact him. If he's willing to testify, we'll have sufficient grounds to formally demand repayment. With interest, she picked up a new case file and began drafting the letter. The letter demanded that Winchester Estate LLC repay the full $850,000 with an annual interest rate of 7%, reflecting current market averages. It also requested a comprehensive financial report from the date of my investment. Evelyn, Catherine said as I signed the letter, you need to understand this. If they refuse to cooperate, we'll pursue legal action, including a court order to freeze their assets pending investigation. Are you prepared for that? I clenched my fists. They had left me no other choice. 3 days later, the letter was delivered to Winchester Estates legal counsel. The very next day, Beatrice called, her voice laced with fury. What are you doing? Taking family matters to court? Have you lost your mind? No, Beatrice, I replied calmly. What's truly insane is believing I'll remain silent forever. You're jeopardizing everything. Winchester Estates' reputation, my career, my parents' credibility. I chuckled softly. I'm merely requesting what is rightfully mine. If that seems like destructions to you, perhaps you should reconsider your definition of integrity. The call ended with Beatrice's enraged breathing. That evening, Thomas met me at a quiet cafe on the outskirts of town. He was dressed in a slightly rumpled shirt, carrying a large envelope containing a detailed breakdown of Winchester Estates' expenses over the past 6 months. I opened the report and nearly choked on my coffee. A Mercedes-Benz SUV was listed under ingredient transportation. Business class airfare to Tuscany was categorized as market research. Beatrice's MBA tuition was labeled internal HR skill development. It felt like a final crushing blow to the last vestiges of my trust. Almost the entire amount I sent had been diverted, not to save Winchester Estates, but to fund my family's extravagant lifestyle. I sent Catherine a single text, proof secured, initiate phase 2. This is more serious than we anticipated. The attached document revealed a series of unusual expenses beyond the Mercedes and Beatrice's tuition, including multiple transactions involving an unknown entity, Winchester Future Holdings LLC. This entity was not mentioned in any business plans or documents I'd reviewed. I immediately contacted Catherine. This company was registered a week after your investment, she confirmed grimly. Your father is the legal representative. The second authorized party is Beatrice. He wasn't just speaking about grapes. He was speaking about legacy. Catherine, if I don't act now, I'll lose everything. I said urgently. It's not if anymore, Evelyn. It's time to fight back. That afternoon I met Thomas at a small bar in Healdsburg. He looked weary, his laptop and a USB drive resting on the table. I've analyzed the accounting system, he stated, and you need to see this. He opened financial spreadsheets, pointing to specific entries. I saw countless market research expenses that were actually personal trips. HR expenses covering Beatrice's lavish lifestyle with her boyfriend, a man who'd never worked a day at Winchester Estates. But the most damning evidence was the asset transfer file. A plan to merge Winchester Estates into holdings, then declare bankruptcy to eliminate my investment. My throat went dry. If they succeed, I breathed, I won't just lose the money, I'll have no legal recourse. Thomas nodded. Why are you helping me? I asked. He hesitated, then said softly, because I owed your grandfather, and because no one in your family deserves to profit from what he built. I squeezed his hand. I won't let Winchester Estates be devoured. I won't let his legacy be tarnished by greed and deceit. That night, I forwarded all the documents to Catherine. She called back within 10 minutes, her voice steely. They haven't just acted unethically. They may have violated federal law. We have evidence of financial fraud, asset concealment, and breach of fiduciary duty. We're not just sending demand letters anymore. What's next? I asked. We'll build a case for the SEC and federal authorities. Simultaneously, we'll file an emergency motion to freeze all transactions and assets linked to Holdings LLC. Evelyn, you can't do this. Dad was rushed to the hospital last night. His blood pressure spiked. Do you realize you're destroying the family? Call me back immediately. Chain reaction initiated. Attached were emails from 3 major banks denying Winchester Estates emergency loan requests, citing unclear financial records and potential federal investigation. I felt not triumph, but a quiet sense of justice. The next morning, I met Catherine to finalize the court filing to freeze Winchester Future Holdings transactions and asset transfers, while the SEC confirmed receipt of our complaint and evidence. You can't back down now, Catherine warned. They'll use guilt, threats, emotional manipulation. Be ready. I nodded. I'd been preparing my entire life. Later, at a cafe near the office, my phone rang. It was my father. Evelyn, he began, his voice hoarse. Do you know your mother has been crying every night? I remained silent. We made mistakes, he admitted. But did you have to go this far, filing with the government? Exposing Winchester Estates? I haven't contacted the press, I replied calmly. But if you continue to evade responsibility, I can't make any promises. He sighed. We're trying to raise the money. We've contacted banks and investors. But as soon as they hear about the SEC, they withdraw. They don't want to be involved in a scandal. And you know precisely why it's become a scandal. Beatrice is falling apart, he whispered. She hasn't eaten since yesterday. Can you come to dinner tonight? We need to talk. Local bank denied Winchester Estates credit extension. Beatrice pleaded with the manager in tears. Office gossip is spreading like wildfire. It's getting ugly. Meanwhile, Catherine informed me that Winchester Estates attorney had responded, offering a $300,000 upfront payment, with the balance spread over 2 years. Unacceptable. I texted back. Full $850,000 plus interest. Within 10 days. Or we file. Catherine replied with a simple, the family home, a parcel of land, and her 40-year-old wedding ring. This is all we can manage, she whispered, her eyes brimming with tears. It's not the full amount, but at least half. I stared at her, feeling a chill, despite the warmth of the room. I don't need your assets, I said quietly. I need justice. If the family lacks the funds, let the law decide. She turned and left without a word, a shadow fading into the light. The game had changed. It was no longer about money, but about honor. Stone Creek Vineyard, 200 pristine acres, directly opposite Winchester Estates, boasting unparalleled views. This was the leverage I needed. I immediately texted Catherine. Stone Creek is for sale. I want to act quickly. Catherine called back within 5 minutes. Evelyn, are you certain? This will strike at their pride. Precisely what I intend, I replied firmly. If they believed I'd roll over, it's time they learned otherwise. We agreed on sending one last warning letter to Winchester Estate, including a photo of Stone Creek overlooking their property. A message that required no words. That afternoon, I met with Robert Clayton, the Stone Creek agent. A man in his late 50s, with salt and pepper hair and sharp eyes, greeted me. I've heard about you, he said smiling, and I must admit, I admire your tenacity. I'm not here to wage war, Mr. Clayton, I explained. I'm here to rebuild the right way. He listened attentively as I outlined my plan: expanded production, premium grape varieties, immersive tours, areas where Winchester Estates had consistently faltered. You have the potential to create a substantial empire here, he stated, and Winchester Estates will be forced to take notice. We signed a memorandum of agreement. I agreed to a 10% deposit, contingent upon the absence of legal disputes within 20 days. If Winchester Estates failed to repay my investment plus interest within 72 hours, I would finalize the Stone Creek acquisition and launch a directly competing brand, simultaneously submitting all evidence of financial misconduct to the SEC. No threats, just irrefutable facts. 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed incessantly. My father, then my mother, then Beatrice. I silenced my phone. Emergency meeting at Winchester Estates. Your father and Beatrice are arguing fiercely, desperate to stop you from acquiring Stone Creek. I leaned back, a faint smile playing on my lips. I was no longer on the defensive. I was in control, and they knew it. The next morning, reviewing Stone Creek's renovation plans, Catherine called, her voice brimming with excitement. We have results. Evelyn. They signed. Signed what? The loan agreement with Redwood Bank to repay your investment, principal and interest. $850,000 plus 7% interest. Total $910,500. The bank only approved it after receiving your SEC notice. They didn't dare wait another day. I exhaled, a mixture of relief and bitterness. They chose reputation over integrity. Exactly, Catherine said. They'd rather mortgage assets and temporarily relinquish shares than face a public scandal. You won, Evelyn. The money has been transferred. Dad, no apology, no explanation, just 3 cold words. 2 hours later, Catherine confirmed the funds had arrived. I watched my bank balance climb past $910, yet I felt no joy. For the first time I could say, I owe nothing to anyone in that family. 3 days later, I returned to Stone Creek to sign the final contract. Robert Clayton shook my hand, his voice full of respect. You're the strongest woman I've ever encountered in this business. I simply don't allow anyone to bury my dreams, I replied. Using the funds from Winchester Estates, I made the down payment for all 200 acres. I officially became owner of the Stone Creek Reserve brand, a label with a history of national awards. I stepped outside, breathing in the scent of earth, grapes, and freedom. That evening, Beatrice appeared at the gate of my new office, her eyes shadowed, her hair messy. Can we talk? She asked softly. About what? I asked, arms crossed. I know I was wrong, she said. This went too far, but you don't have to become the enemy of the entire family. I looked at her, devoid of anger, resentment, simply emptiness. I'm not the enemy, I stated. I simply stopped being the one who gets hurt. You have your money, you have your life. You won. Why won't you let Winchester Estates go? Beatrice was silent. After a long pause, she murmured. Dad hasn't spoken to anyone since signing the papers. Good, I said. He should reflect on his actions. She turned and left. A viticulture expert from Oregon, a production consultant from Sonoma, and a branding designer from a top winery. Good land, a perfect climate, but outdated equipment. I had built a financial empire from a small apartment. Building a wine brand would be challenging, but a challenge I'd chosen. I wasn't just creating wine. I was crafting a story of betrayal and rebirth, loss and triumph. I named our first product line The Second Bloom, representing things lost and regained, stronger than before. The label was simple, a hand rising from the soil, clutching a cluster of grapes. On the first day of harvest, I worked alongside my team. No one knew my family's history. No one needed to. I was Evelyn of Aurora Ridge. That evening, drafting the expansion plan, I envisioned my wine gracing Napa's best restaurants, then San Francisco, eventually National Wine Expos. Catherine stopped by, bringing a bottle of Chardonnay and a folder of documents. Congratulations, Aurora Ridge, she smiled. And to the woman brave enough to sever family ties to protect her dignity. We clinked our glasses. I don't think I lost a family, I stated. I believe I found myself. The next day, I received an email from a major Los Angeles distributor, offering a partnership if I could provide 200 cases for the upcoming holiday season. I called an emergency team meeting. Everyone was astounded. Aurora Ridge hadn't even produced its first batch. We'll do it, I stated confidently. Not just 200 cases. We'll make them remember our name with the very first taste. Thomas added. Winchester Estates released an internal report. They're cutting back on marketing. The bank is tightening its grip. I didn't respond, simply gazing towards the hills, where the vines across the valley continued to grow under outdated management, resistant to change. Dear Evelyn, I've been rereading this journal. In every line I see you. The precision, the patience, the strength. Perhaps I clung too tightly to old ways and forgot that some people must break the mold to grow. I'm not skilled at apologies, but this journal, your grandfather's treasure, belongs with the one who truly understands its value. Dad, I pressed the note to my heart. No grand speeches, no tears, just a single profound gesture. He understood. Even if it was too late, the following spring, Aurora Ridge's Second Bloom debuted at the North Bay Wine Expo. Critics lauded its complexity and depth. Mirroring my own journey, Beatrice was no longer CEO of Winchester Estates. A neutral director had been appointed. Thomas later learned that she'd moved to the city and enrolled in an art and design course. Pursuing her own path for the first time, my mother remained silent, but I understood. Some distances cannot be bridged with words. I no longer needed them to move forward. I built my future, not rebuilt my past. Aurora Ridge sold out its entire first run of 3,000 bottles. If you tend to it properly, a vine will never betray you. I opened my notebook and added a new entry. A legacy begins anew in a place once rejected. I didn't need to inherit a vineyard to achieve something extraordinary. I only needed to trust myself. 1 year later, Aurora Ridge was thriving. Every morning I saw my team tending the vines with skill and dedication. Believing in Aurora Ridge's resilience and integrity, I no longer needed my family's approval. When they turned their backs, I saw myself clearly, not as a shadow, but as a woman of intelligence, strength, and unwavering integrity. I chose justice, not revenge. I rebuilt, not destroyed. I was not alone in being underestimated. After the Legacy Bloom launch, Nora, a former winery owner, shared her story of being ousted by her son. "You reminded me," she said, "that no one decides our worth but ourselves. Don't let vines grow aimlessly. Guide them towards the light. Only then will they bear true fruit." He spoke of people, not just grapes. I had endured false promises and manipulation, but the moment I stopped being silent, I began to truly grow. Arlette once said, "Evelyn, you didn't win because you were right. You won because you didn't let anger cloud your judgment." I chose justice, not chaos. I chose to build, not destroy. Evelyn's journey is a powerful testament to the importance of justice, built not just on paper, but on clarity and courage. Betrayed by her family, she didn't seek revenge, but fought lawfully, reclaiming her dignity and building a new legacy. Not just a wine brand, but a symbol of self-respect, independence, and the strength to fight injustice, even from those closest to us. What do you think of Evelyn's journey? What would you have done in her place?